guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Orange County. So I'm going to be doing episodes 5 and 6 in one video. So let's get to it, y'all. So y'all know sometimes before we get into it, we get a little spicy over here, just a little bit. And I want to talk about Tamra being on Watch What Happens Live. So shout out to my mutual. His question actually got asked towards Tamra, and it was a good question. So I was actually excited that they actually posted to Tamra. So basically the question was, Tamra, how can you be all clicked up and advocating and being cool with John and Alexis when you threw a drink in Gina, the first Gina to be on OC's face, for siding with your ex-husband Simon? So let me play the response for you guys.
This is interesting. Jam Garcia 18 said, Tamara, you infamously had a falling out with and threw wine in Gina Keogh's face due to her taking Simon's side when we were getting a divorce. Yeah. Aren't you doing the same thing to Shannon by taking John and Alexis's side?
I'm not taking John and Alexis's side. I'm not an advocate for John Jansen. Okay. I'm friends with Alexis. I know John in a certain way, and John has always been nice and respectful to me, but I also know that Shannon gets drunk and calls the cast members and says horrible things about people.
Well, I also will say that coming up, we will see you take Shannon's side in this fight.
I take the right side. Yes. I don't take...
And I'm happy that this question was asked at Shannon, and I'm glad that my mutual came up with the question, because when I saw it on Twitter, I was like, yo, that is a good question, a really good question, because when I saw it, I started to think back to that season, to that infamous scene of when Tamra throws the drink in Gina's face, and I'm like, yeah, girl, you were pissed. You were pissed that she was siding with Simon. So the fact of the matter that you are basically somewhat like in cahoots with John and Alexis to like pick at Shannon, it's not cool. And Tamra can go on about like, well, I'm not advocating for John Jansen. I'm just friends with Alexis. You can be friends with Alexis and still not use the fact that she's with John to throw in Shannon's face. Like, you making digs about like, you know, stop sleeping with her boyfriend, or like, you know, how are you like, you purposely be doing things to like bring up the John situation. And honestly, I think the best way you should have played this is what you did at Katie's golf party. You should have just paid Shannon dust. You shouldn't have interacted with her. You should just ignore her. Like, I would just ignore her. But I do believe Tamra when she said, like, after the DUI, because she said this on Watch What Happens Live. She said, after the DUI, I was with Shannon for some time, and I was trying to get Shannon to understand like how serious this situation was, how like it could have been so much worse. And the fact that Shannon wasn't like understanding and it wasn't getting through to her, I was done with her. And that is understandable. But again, the way that Tamra is going about it makes her look like an asshole. That's just what it is. But let's get into, well, before I say get into the review, I am curious to know, how does Tamra stick up for Shannon against Alexis? Like, I want to know what she says, or like, what was the situation where Tamra was like, oh, you went too far. But you know, let's get into this. Episode 5, it opens up with, we have 3 different conversations going on at once. You have Heather inviting over Gina and Jen to have like a Galentine's Day thing. They're putting on like facial masks and like eating cute little sandwiches and hors d'oeuvres and stuff like that. Then you have Katie inviting Shannon over to her place. And then you have Emily and Tamra walking down by the beach. So basically everyone is talking about what happened at the golf event with between Katie and Heather. And pretty much, Heather is over it. Heather is just kind of like, I don't even know Katie like this for her to be giving me this type of fever, this type of energy. Like, what's up with her? And she's looking at Gina like, girl, this your friend. What's up with her? And Gina's like, well, you know, I wanted y'all to be friends. And Heather's like, how am I gonna be friends with somebody who's like digging up information on me? Plus, like, how long has this been going on? Because everybody else knew about this before me. And clearly you knew about this information before everybody else. So then Gina has to kind of cop to the fact that she knew about this information well before everybody, and it's been months, and she never told Heather. So Heather's like, bro, you're my friend. Like, why wouldn't you tell me this? You are my friend, not her friend. Why wouldn't you tell me this information? And so Gina is like, well, I told her never to bring it up, and I didn't think it was going to get like this because I knew you were going to be upset. I told her to, like, not say anything. And Heather's like, okay, cool, whatever, but you still should have told me that she was, like, digging for information on me. And you got Jen just sitting there like, yeah. And even in her confessional, Jen is like, yeah, you should have, like, this is Gina's fault. Like, you should have told her. Like, you're supposed to be friends with Heather. Like, y'all supposed to be real cool and stuff. Why wouldn't you tell her? And honestly, I've always felt like since season 16, Gina is an opportunist when it comes to Heather. And Heather allowed herself to be played by Gina. I think she liked the fact that Gina was, like, all enamored with Heather's wealth and who Heather Dubrow was and how she fits into the OC, like, universe. But if Heather was smart, she would have peeped Gina from the door, because it was weird to me that season 16, Gina dropped Shannon, so did Emily. Then we get to season 17, and all of a sudden Gina is still on this Heather, like, hate train, like, oh, that really hurt my feelings, Heather, and being so sensitive about the things Heather was saying, knowing when most of the stuff that Heather was saying to Gina, it was like she meant it in a positive way. Gina just took it in she took it out of context on purpose. So now we're in this season, and I'm like, yeah, girl, like, that's fake. That's fake. Like, even if y'all weren't close like this, you know, like best friends, out of the strength of you knowing Heather longer than Katie, you should have told Heather that Katie was digging up information or had information on her about this paparazzi thing. So Heather would be prepared if in fact Katie wanted to bring it up. So Gina ends up being like, you know what? I effed up. Yeah, you're right. I effed up. I should have told you. My bad. My bad. Like, I'm completely, like, I'm sorry. Like, I really messed up. My bad. And Heather is just looking at Gina like, girl, I don't know if I could trust you. I said, girl, you should have known that from the start. And so Jen is like, well, I really like her and I want to be cool with her. And Heather's like, I'm not telling you not to be friends with her, but her character is showing. And I was like, that is true. Like, you can't tell someone not to be friends with someone, but I would still be looking at you like, girl, you want to be friends with somebody that just came into this group that doesn't know us from a can of paint, and she is blatantly coming after me, and I ain't done to her other than ignore her at a party. You know, what's up with all of this? So like I said, it's 3 conversations going on. So then we have Shannon going over to Katie's house. And Shannon pretty much is like on Katie's side, because Shannon still has underlining issues with Heather, where she was like, you know, Heather is the most sensitive out of all of us. I said, girl, what, wait, when, where, how? Because you can't be talking, Shannon. Shannon, shut up. Talking about she's the most sensitive out of all of us. Okay, Shannon. And Katie's like, Shannon ends up being like, well, I was actually kind of admired the fact that, like, you didn't back down. And then Katie's like, you think I made it up? I have the proof. And honestly, her proof is not good enough for me. Because my thing is, like, you don't see a number in the text message. You just see a screenshot of the article all about the truth made, or a blog post that they made with her. It's like sending it to somebody. You don't see a number. You don't see, like, and it's a very like I feel like if that's your proof, it's not good enough, because I want you to verify your sources. Verify them sources for me, Katie, before I believe all of this. And even if it is true, it's not that big of a deal to me. Like, okay, she staged a paparazzi photo. Ooh, like, y'all like to pick at Heather. Y'all be trying to take it. Like, last season, they were trying so hard to take Heather down that everything that they were throwing at Heather was like, girl, that doesn't stick. And this doesn't stick either, because, okay, it's a paparazzi photo. All y'all have on her is a paparazzi photo. Y'all ain't got nothing else. Nothing else on this lady, you know? So it's crazy. It's just, it's crazy. So then she brings up the whole Gina of it all, where she was like, Gina kind of just left me out there to dry. Like, you told me 5 days before the event, like, girl, you need to tell Heather, I'm going to tell her. Then we get to the event, I tell the lady, and now you're telling me I should have never said nothing. Like, what is it? Now Katie is like questioning, like, her conversations with Gina, where she's like, is stuff going to be used against me? Because I really care about Gina and I care about this friendship. And I say, Katie, please don't be pulling a Rachel and Danielle from Real Housewives of New Jersey. You just met this lady. Calm down. calm down. Y'all are building a friendship. Y'all not friends like that. So then we have the conversation between Emily and Tamra, where Emily is pretty much like, Gina is up Heather's butt. Like, whenever I do something wrong or you do something wrong, she'll call us out. But when it comes to Heather, she don't never want to say nothing to Heather. It's like she just wants to keep staying in Heather's good graces. And I think it's just weird at this point. And then Tamra was like, yeah, it is. She probably afraid of Heather. And I'm like, afraid of Heather for what? None of y'all got money to come back at. And maybe it's the money. I don't know. Maybe it's the connections Heather has. I just don't get it. So Tamara was just like, but I think Katie gonna be in trouble because this whole paparazzi thing, it just ain't it. It just ain't it. Finally get this sit down with Katie and Gina. They sit down and Katie basically tells Gina, like, you know, girl, it hurt me that you walked away from me or you abandoned me at the golf event. She was like, Heather yelling at me ain't that big a deal, but like you abandoning me, that kind of hurt my feelings. Like Katie ends up being like, I feel like there was a way that you could have been neutral and still like maintained a relationship with both of us. Like you didn't have to pick a side. And so Gina ends up being like, well, girl, I'm not going to jeopardize my friendship with Heather for you. I just met you and I really care about Heather and like she means a lot to me. So I'm not going to mess this up. So I guess that made Katie feel some type of way because out of the blue, she starts getting emotional and starts tearing up. And then Gina's like, oh, girl, like, don't cry. Like, what's wrong? Like, and I guess maybe Gina saying like she means a lot to me, her feelings or something like that. But I'm looking at Katie like, girl, you purposely have been messy. Like you came on the show being messy. Like, and we know you were being messy well before the show started by getting this information from your friend who works with the paparazzis. And then you came on this show. I do believe Gina probably did tell her like, girl, don't bring this to the show because Heather is going to be pissed. Like, don't do it. And you brought it to the show and you told everybody around Heather. You never told Heather. And now that it kind of blew up in your face because you thought Gina was going to have your back, now all of a sudden you're like, I don't know. You know, like I don't know about my friendship with Gina. You need to own the fact that you was being messy. And you also need to own the fact that, like, you are a newbie. Nobody is about to stick their neck out there for you like that when Heather is, like, a veteran in this show. And they brought her back. Like, that should tell you something. They asked her to come back, and she came back. Like, the network sees value in her. They not about to throw away that, like, somewhat of a relationship with Heather for you, ma'am. And if you were smart, Katie, you would have came in here not beefing with Heather or Tamra or Shannon, maybe Tamra. But like if you would have beef with like Gina or Jen or Emily, but going after those three women, it's like it's an easy play. Like we always know what it is when the newbies try to go for the OGs because we know you want a second season. But I was just like, girl, this is stupid. I just couldn't believe she started crying. On top of that, they showed us this horrid. They show it. Oh God, this was such an ugly, like Gina, this is such an ugly confessional. And whoever told you this was it or this was tea, they hate you. They genuinely hate you for real. Like they despised you, Gina. Because first of all, the dress is ill-fitted. Like it's giving bodycon. And honestly, if you have any types of roles when it comes to like your body, when it comes to a bodycon dress, it will show. And it looked like you got 3 stomachs. The wig is horrible. The wig is like, it was supposed to be like black roots going into like a ash blonde or a dirty blonde. Girl, this is bad, Gina. And then the wig looks shifted. Like it's not supposed to be like, it's supposed to get, is that an asymmetrical bob? Where like one side is long and the other side is short. I think that's what she was trying to give, but it just gives that y'all tilted the wig a different way or put it backwards. I hate this. 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 I hate it. So the next scene we had of Tamra and Alexis, Tamra going over to Alexis' place. And when I tell you the scene of Alexis being like, Lexi, you wouldn't want to have fun with Lexi. I said, and it's her doing the all like the ham. It was so embarrassing.
I'll be at the next one.
It was so, I'm trying to be the cool mom coded. It was so, I was like, Alexis, you should be ashamed. Because the level of cringe that was, like, it made me hurt. So pretty much Alexis feels some type of way that Katie didn't invite her to the golfing event. Because she's like, why wasn't I invited? And Shannon was like, well, you know, Tamara was like, Katie and Shannon seem to be getting close. So I think she just feels like she didn't need to invite you. And then Alexis is like, that's okay. I'll be at the next event. Okay, girl, calm down. You're Tamara's friend, Heather's friend. You're not Shannon's friend, Katie's friend, Gina or Emily's friend, or Jen's. Them the only two that's going to help you get invited to something. So calm your puss. Okay? So they then start talking about the Shannon of it all, because Alexis was like, well, how did it go with you and Shannon? And Tamara was like, I didn't say anything to her. Like, we kind of just paid each other dust. Like, she was hiding behind the tables and stuff like that. And then Alexis was like, well, how do you really feel? And Tamara's like, well, I still care about her. I was like, clearly, I don't know. If that's your version of caring, I don't want no parts of it. And she's like, well, I still care about her, but I just feel like she like, we can never be friends anymore. Like, the way she treated me, I can't go back. So Tamara ends up saying in her confessional how, like, her family would always be like, well, Mom, why are you putting up with her? Because she was like, Shannon was calling her every day crying. And then Eddie was like, she's not really a good friend to you. So Tamara was like, I was always there for Shannon. Always there for Shannon. And the one time I needed her, she was nowhere to be found. And I can believe that too. Shannon does seem very self-absorbed at times. You saw the way she kept throwing it in Gina's face that she helped her. So I do feel like Shannon would only do certain things out of like confirmation? Recognition. Out of recognition of being like, well, I did this for you. Like, so she could say she did it. So I can see that happening. But the way, again, that Tamara is going about it makes her look like an asshole. It makes her an asshole, pretty much. Because there's ways that you could do this without being so nasty and mean to the lady. Like, there's no reason for all of that. So then Alexis talks about John and how he's tired and all of this stuff. And I'm like, you would think after the marriage that Alexis was in with that man who gave very much evangelical, controlling Christian man, and I know what they are, that you would not make a man your whole entire personality. Because that is what Alexis has done. Like, girl, we are 6 episodes in, because we'll talk about episode 6. But we're 6 episodes in, and I don't know anything about you other than how you and John met, and this whole like 7 and all of John's tea about not drinking anymore, and this $75,000. Like, you are not helping yourself. You're not even putting your best foot forward for yourself. Like, if you want to be a reoccurring character on this show, then start sharing aspects of your life. Everything can't be John this, John that. It's annoying, lady. You too old for this. Too old for this. So we find out that Gina is supposed to be having like this dinner at this really nice club, and everybody's invited. Oh, the dinner from hell. When I tell you they not making it to heaven because they did Shannon so bad. It was such good TV, but it was so nasty. So Gina is the one that's hosting this dinner, and everybody's invited down to Vicky. So we see Vicky and Shannon are the last ones to like pull up to the event. And, you know, Vicky is saying hi to everybody because I don't think everyone knew Vicky was coming. Tamara is like, Vicky's only here because Shannon needs backup. Whatever, girl. And so, Vicky saying hi to everyone. You then hear Alexis say, hey, Vicky, welcome to my world. And Vicky looked at her like, why is she talking to me? Like, who is that? And they do a flashback to when Vicky said it to Alexis, like back in like 2011. And Vicky's like, why is she even talking to me? Because Vicky already feels some type of way because she's looking at Tamara like, girl, what kind of drugs are you on? Like, why are you friends with the wife of the man that sued you and Shannon, and now she's dating John who's suing Shannon? Like, what's going on up there? Like, that's not right. So they sit down. Things get underway when the waiter comes around and is asking everybody for their drink orders. Shannon decides to order a drink, and everyone is kind of like, I don't know if you should do that. But Tamara is like mugging Shannon, while Vicky is like, it's okay for you to have a drink. You not driving. You can have a drink. And trying to reassure Shannon. But Shannon's like, okay, Vicky, like, because Vicky was aggressive. It's okay for you to have a drink. It was like, okay, girl, thank you. So Shannon is like, I know I can have a drink. I'm fine. I'm not driving. So then Tamara's like, why are you enabling her? And Vicky's like, I'm not enabling her. And Tamara's like, she's an alcoholic. Why are you enabling her? So then everyone at the table is like, oh, girl, we just got here. Why we ain't even ate good yet. Why are you bringing this up? So then Shannon is like, who are you, Tamara, to be like the judge and the jury of like what I have done? Like, who are you? And she was like, you don't think I have like thought about what happened like I have thought about what I did like every single day. And then Tamara's like, is that after you have a drink? The way everybody's face was like, ooh. And when I tell you, that was a good one. Because that was like a gut punch. And I said, girl. And I promise you, if I was at that table, I'd have been like, damn. You ain't have to say that. She did not have to say that. So then Shannon is looking at her like this after she said it, like, I can't believe she said that to me. So then Emily and Gina actually chime in and they're like, well, Emily tells Tamara, I know you're going to be mad, but I actually think she is getting the help and she's doing the work for herself. Tamara is like the patient center or the wellness center that Shannon went to was not for like alcoholism. It was for like relationship issues. So she was like, did she really work on her issues or not? So then Gina's like, yeah, I get you being frustrated and angry with her, but this ain't the way to do it. So I was actually like impressed that Gina and Emily like stood up against Tamara and was like, yeah, girl, you doing too much. And that says a lot when you got those two who are willing to like just sit in the back and watch somebody get eviscerated, tell you doing a lot. You are doing a lot. Like, you're doing way too much. Like, get off the gas for a minute, ma'am. So then Shannon gets upset and she leaves the room because she was just like, you know what? I'm not about to be chastised or badgered by you, Tamara. You're not my friend. You ain't really been there for me. You're not the judge and jury. So she leaves the room because they're in like a really nice private room, really nice like setting, like ambiance and all of that stuff. So she's behind this wall and she's up against the wall crying because she's just like, Shannon's like, I'm done. I'm over it. So then all of a sudden they talk about the lawsuit. I think Tamara is the one that brought it up. And everyone's like, what do you mean? And she's like, it's a $75,000 lawsuit. John is suing her. And then Alexis is like, and I got the receipts. So then Alexis is showing everybody like screenshots of like the bank statements and everything. And mind you, I'd have been nosy and would have been in that phone like, girl, what? And so she's like, yeah, John gave it to me. Like, she needs to pay my man back. And honestly, it's because John ain't got no money that he trying to sue Shannon right now. So then Jen gets up and goes after Shannon, and Shannon is up against the wall, and she's like, man, I hate the fact that nobody else like came after me. Like, I hate this. But then I look at it like, Shannon, that should make you reflect on how you've treated other people, because Shannon is always like to play like she's a victim of something. And at times she is, but she also perpetrates a lot of the mess on this show too. So I'm just kind of like, if no one came after you, that should make you feel like, damn, like, what have I done to these other people where they don't feel compelled to make sure I'm okay? And the only person you got checking up on you is Jen, who doesn't really have a history with you. But I mean, Katie don't either. But everybody else in that room really wasn't checking for you like that. So Jen is like, I think you need to go back in there. Alexis is showing bank statements, receipts that John gave her. So she's like, she's being coached by John. And she was like, and it's not $75,000, it's $65,000. He gave me 30. I think she said $30K was like a loan. The other 35 was like, I guess for the facelift or whatever. And she was just like, I could tell all the things. I could tell anything about John, like, because John is a monster. Like, y'all don't even know. So then in the confessional, they're asking Shannon, like, production is like, so what can you tell us about John? And she's like, well, I'm not trying to get sued. I already been sued before. But I'm like, is it really defamation if it actually is true? No. So she's just like, she ain't want to touch that. But then she also says, Alexis over there got screenshots from him. She need to start saving her own screenshots, because why are you acting like what he doing to me ain't gonna fall back on you? And probably will be a lot worse. But I agree with Shannon when she was like, John ain't got no money. I don't think he has money either. Even in this episode, I think she went and saw her father, and her father was like, you paid for everything, so how he's suing you? So I definitely don't think John has any money. So Shannon decides she's not going back in there. She leaving. So I guess she went outside to get back in the Sprinter. So then you have Alexa sitting at the table being like, don't poke the bear, because she keeps poking the bear. And with her poking the bear, I'm gonna defend my man type energy. And Heather ends up telling Alexis, like, as your friend, I'm just like, like, you coming in really harsh, like really hot and strong, and you need to ease up. Cause like, get to know Shannon, y'all might be able to develop a friendship. And then Emily in her confession was like, there's no way they about to have a friendship. Cause how can you have a friendship with somebody who has screenshots proving or is trying to prove that you owe her man money? That's not going to happen. And then I think Alexis says she'd be fine being friends with, what's it called? She would be fine being friends with Shannon. And Emily calls her out, and she's like, how can you be friends with somebody and you trying to embarrass her and shame her? So then Alexis gets real close to Emily. And mind you, I feel like if this would have been a different franchise, somebody would have muffed her or told her to back and she was like, well, you're not going to be coming at my man. You're not going to be coming at my man. And like, I was like, Alexis, leave. So then Alexis actually left. So she gets up because she doesn't want to deal with them defending Shannon. So then Vicky gets up, and Vicky is like, this is nasty. Like, we are good Christian women and we don't do this. I said, Vicky, hush. And when Emily was like, play the beautiful bean footage of, what's her name? Of Vicky lashing out and spiraling and going off and being nasty to people. I said, yeah, Vicky, you are not the one to tell people don't be nasty and be icky. And I get what she said when she was like, this feels icky, because it does feel icky. So then Tamara's like, I just want her to get help. She needs to get help. She needs to be in rehab. And then I think she said she looks horrible. But then Emily was like, I think she looked good. And Heather was like, no, I think she looked good too. I think she looked fine too. So I don't know what she's talking about. She actually looks really refreshed at this time. And so it ends there. Honestly, it was a mess, but it was good TV. So let's move on to episode 6. So episode 6 opens up the same way that episode 5 did, where we got 3 different conversations happening at once. You have Shannon, Gina, and Katie meeting up at a boutique. You have, what's her name? Heather and Emily at like a Party City store. And then you have Tamara and Jen on the beach talking. So let's start off with Heather and Emily. So Heather and Emily are at the Party City store. They're looking for some stuff, but then they're also talking about what happened the night before and how crazy it was. And then Heather tells Emily, like, girl, what's up with you and Jen? Because last night was crazy. So we find out that after Shannon, Alexis, and Vicky left, they everyone else stayed into the stayed at the restaurant for a little more time to talk. And pretty much Jen ends up asking Emily, like, is there anything you need to say to me? Because I guess the dinner was supposed to be a way for everyone to talk out their feelings or just like, get to the bottom of things. And so Emily pretty much calls Jen dumb, to the point where Jen was like, whoa, because Jen had on a Rolex. And she was like, why do you have on a Rolex? Why haven't you pawned it off to pay your bills? Like, what's not clicking? Like, that's stupid. You're stupid. And everyone's like, whoa, Emily. And you could tell that Emily was tipsy, but honestly, it doesn't negate Emily's behavior, because for the past couple of episodes, Emily has been on one when it comes to Jen. She act like Jen owe her money. I don't know, maybe it might come out that she lended Jen money, but she been at Jen's throat, okay, when it comes to her not having no money and not making the correct decisions. And so Heather was like, yeah, girl, you can't be yelling at her and calling her dumb. And Emily's like, where she is dumb. You on the internet flaunting that you have a Rolex, but you owe a bunch of people in the OC money. Like, at least pretend like you ain't got no money, girl. Like, what's wrong with you? And Heather was like, I know that, but we can tell that she's not good with money. Like, she doesn't make the best decisions. So then they get on the topic of Gina, and Heather is just like, I am really disappointed and mad at her right now. Like, you invited this girl into our group. You knew about this information that she had on me, or this information that these receipts she had for months, and you didn't tell me. Like, I feel betrayed. And so Emily's like, well, we're going to La Quinta. Like, do you want to come? And Heather's like, girl, I don't know. Because if I do come, I don't want nobody to tell me I was wrong for voicing my feelings and my opinions. Because if I go, I'm going to tell Gina, like, how I truly feel. Like, I had time to sleep on it, and I'm mad. And I want to tell her how I feel. And so Emily's like, no, it'll be fine. It'll be okay. You know? And so their scene ends. Honestly, even though I feel like Emily is being aggressive and mean towards Jen, and it's not warranted because that lady don't owe you no money and it's her life she messing up, I don't think her assessment of Jen and the situation is wrong. I think Jen is stupid. I think she's being dumb. Like, you owe a bunch of people money. A bunch of people money. You got backed up rent in your yoga studio. Y'all are still paying off the rent that you didn't pay the previous owner of the house that you were in, and now y'all have moved in with Ryan. Like, you have to start making better decisions. You shouldn't have glam. You need to hop your happy dappy ass, like my mama. Well, my mama don't cuss, but my daddy would say, onto YouTube. And there's so many tutorials on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok that like go step by step to show you how to get the look that you're looking for. You need to do that. You don't need to be paying an arm and a leg for extensions like that. You need to, like, I mean, I'm glad you got rid of your car, but you should have you should give up the Rolex. After finding out that the Rolex doesn't even work, you should give it up so it could be scrapped off for parts. And one thing that's annoying is like everyone is acting like Jen is not in a bad situation based off of how nasty Emily and Gina have been to her. More so Emily. And I get it. Emily has been an asshole towards Jen, but I still feel like Jen is stupid. Like, and she plays this whole damsel in distress game. Like, legit, Jen to me is like the little kids that jump into the pool and they like, you know, they're paddling for dear life, like trying to swim. And it's like, girl, just stand up. Like, the water is 2 feet deep. Just stand up and walk yourself to the steps. But no, she's waiting for somebody to jump in the pool to save her. And it's like, you've already been proven that the people that you think are going to save you aren't coming. Like, luckily you had your father step in, but Ryan didn't give you no money. He gave you a house to stay. But we don't know if Ryan ain't going to be locked up in the next 2 years for 15 years for money laundering or something. So that's not a plan for you. Then you have your ex-husband, and he was definitely wrong for doing this to y'all, for not paying the rent, because at the end of the day, even if he had issues with you, he's still those kids' father. So it's like, he didn't save you. So at this point, you need to stop being a damsel in distress and just start to help yourself. Like, get up. Like, girl, like, you know, like, stand up. Like, do something other than counting on your parents and these men to help you. Okay? And when it comes to Emily's fixation on Jen, I think, is twofold. I think one of it is Emily grew up poor. She grew up working class with a single mother. She didn't have a good relationship with her father. I think she was a latchkey kid. I think I'm using it that correctly. That's not my generation. But her mom left her and her sister at home while she went to work to make sure that they had a house to stay in and food. So it's like, she grew up hardworking, and the way she got her money was going to school and marrying Shane, because Shane got money. So it's like, she knows what it means to struggle and to sacrifice, and I think it bothers her to see Jen not do it. I also think it's due to her body issues. You got this blonde girl who's small and petite, and everyone always runs to come and save her when you didn't get the same thing. You were the big girl that nobody was running to come and save. Fact, they actually probably ridiculed you and laughed at you when you were struggling. But now that you're an adult, you got to get over that. It's not your fault. And it's not your problem, and it's not your role to chastise Jen and tell her what she needs to do in order to be successful. She an adult, she'll figure it out. So the next thing we have is Jen and Tamara on the beach. And Jen is like, girl, what is Emily's problem with me? Like, who is she to tell me what to do with my money and how I need to move? And she got a point. You not her mama. You're not her financial advisor or her accountant. Let her live her life. And so Tamara was like, well, maybe she's just going through something and she's taking it out on you. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. So then Jen ends up telling Tamara about how she had a meetup with Shannon and Gina, where Gina basically said that she feels like Emily and Tamara are like vying to be who can be the biggest bitch. Like ever since Emily started to be friends with Tamara, she feels like she's a totally different person. And this isn't the Emily that she knows. And she just wondered how much of Tamara's influence is changing Emily. And so Tamara was like, oh, so now I'm causing issues. And Jen is like, no, I don't think that's what she meant. I just think she feels like Emily, y'all have gotten close and Emily is acting different and she's kind of confused by it. You know, like she's just like it's just something off. So while they're talking, we then see the scene with Katie and Gina meeting up at the boutique first. So they get in there. And Gina's like, girl, what's up with you? Because at the dinner, you were really quiet. I thought maybe you were sick or something happened. And so Katie ends up being like, she didn't want the whole Heather thing to come back up. She didn't want to have those problems. But in the confessional, Katie is like, she don't know how much she can trust Gina, especially after the whole situation, the golf situation, how she feels like Gina left her out there to dry. And she was like, you picked Heather's side. Like you didn't even like consider my side. So she's just like, I don't know anymore. And then Gina lets Heather know, Gina lets Katie know Heather is pissed at me. And then they show a flashback scene of Gina trying to talk to Heather. And Heather was like, girl, I can't talk to you right now. It's too much going on. And we'll talk about it later. Okay. And so Gina is like, dang, I can't win for lose. And Gina basically feels like Heather has made this situation worse than what it is, and now it's like spiraling in her head, and now she's just really mad when she was like, she doesn't think it was that deep. She's just sensitive about it. So then we see Shannon pull up. And Shannon is like, well, girls, you know what today I got? And they're like, what did you get? And she's like, I got a letter from an attorney saying that I owed John Jansen $75,000. So I guess it was just rumblings about the situation. I guess now Shannon actually got like served, or maybe a letter warning her that it like she might get served if she doesn't comply with what John wants. So then, what's her name? Gina is like, girl, is Alexis doing this to you? Because her husband sued you. She was like, her husband sued you. Now her boyfriend is suing you. And Katie's like, what? So I guess Katie didn't know about the whole lawsuit situation that happened with Alexis's previous, like her ex-husband. And she's just like, girl, it's just crazy. So Shannon ends up saying like, you know what? I'm not going to give that too much energy because it's just crazy. What really made me have a hard time sleeping at night was what Tamara said to me. Like a lot of the things she said at that dinner could be considered defamatory. And they show a flashback of this was before Shannon, like while she's about to walk out of the room, she's like, you've only called me like 2 times. And then Tamara's like, yeah, and the 2 times I've called you or we talked on the phone, you've been drunk. And that's when Shannon was like, I'm not dealing with this, and she storms out. So she was like, that could be damaging to me. Am I like just like, you don't say that to somebody that's supposed to be your friend. So then Gina is like, well, I'm worried about you because I don't want you to, relapse or like get off the wagon after the things that Tamara has said to you. And Shannon with the broken cry voice is like, there's nothing that Tamara could do or say to me that will make me jeopardize what I got going on right now. So then it flashes back to it's not flashback. It goes back. Okay. It goes back to Jen and Tamara sitting on the beach. And Jen is like, girl, you've been coming really hard at Shannon, like really hard. And I know you care about her. And Tamara's like, yeah, I care about her. I wouldn't be going as hard as if I didn't care about her. And I said, that is bullshit, bro. It really is. Because like I said in the spicy corner, if we're not like, well, was it out of the spicy corner or somewhere in the episode 5? But if we are not cool and like, I know you have an issue, I would just ignore you. I would, unless you have done some egregious stuff to me, stuff that like it has scarred me. Would I be going that hard at Shannon if I was Tamra? But it doesn't really seem like Shannon has really done anything that bad to Tamra, other than be like an energy vampire. And at this time, once you drop the dead weight, you get your energy back, so I don't get why she's going so hard. And she was like, I care and I want her to get help. And I'm like, if you do care, then you wouldn't be going at this hard at her. So then Tamara starts talking about like she always wants to victimize herself. And then when it flips back to Shannon being like, I'm not a victim. But I'm like, Shannon, you do be acting like one. I'm sorry. You do. You really do. You do. But I do feel like I don't want to hear nothing that Tamara got to say about Shannon at this point, because we know you don't like the lady. So then Gina ends up inviting Katie and Shannon to La Quinta because she needs to go check on the house that she's selling for Elizabeth. And Shannon is like, is Elizabeth going to be there? And Gina's like, I think so for the beginning, and then she's going to roll out. But she was like, I just want to stay in the home and like I just make sure that the staging is still correct and that everything is still up to par with what we're saying is like good with the house. So I just want to invite y'all. Well, we find out that Katie was already invited to go to Big Bear that weekend with Tamra. And Shannon was like, that means Alexis is going to be there, right? And Katie was like, I think so. Well, girl, I don't know. I'm not friends with her like that. But she was like, yeah, have fun. Have fun. Y'all have fun, because I'm not dealing with it. I'm just not. She's like, Shannon's like, I'm tired and I don't want to deal with it anymore. The girls are going on their trips. So you have Shannon, Emily, Gina, and Heather going to La Quinta to go to Elizabeth's house to stay in it and all of that stuff. Then you have Alexis, Jen, and what's her name? Alexis, Jen, Katie, and Tamara going to Big Bear. Okay, I had a brain fart, y'all. So let's talk about Big Bear first. So we see them all pull up to, I think, Tamara's house to pile into the car to get to Big Bear. Mind you, on their ride to Big Bear, all what's her name? Alexis is talking about is John this, John that. And it's annoying. And the thing about it is, one of my mutuals said this on Twitter, and I wholeheartedly agree. If Alexis doesn't come back next season, it will only be her fault. It won't be any of the other ladies' faults. It will be her fault, because we don't know anything else about her other than she got a divorce. John is her man, and her mom unfortunately passed away. Those are the only things we know about her. And mind you, this is the first time we've heard Alexis mention her mom passing away, but Heather was the one that said it first, because when we were first introduced to Alexis on episode 1, Heather said, she's had a really rough time. Her mom passed away. We have yet to hear Alexis talk about it, but in this episode, she talks about it as a way to prop up John as being this great man. But you have never personally said what you're like. It's annoying. It's annoying. Like, Alexis is pissing me off, because I'm just like, you are too, why hasn't your mind grown, ma'am? Like, why are you this much of a pick-me? Like, why is this man your identity? And I don't know if it's like pick-me mixed in with grief, because she ends up saying how John has honestly been the only person there to really like take care of her and help her with her issues and her grief about her mom being gone, that I'm like, girl, is it a trauma bond or something? I don't know. I just feel like you too old to be like this. In my opinion, this is the type of behavior for them people, like people, in like they 20s and like maybe 18 to like 22 is your period. Because, your brain, like, she getting on my nerves, y'all. She getting on my nerves. So they get to Big Bear. Tamara's house, for some reason, is leaking, even though she, they redid everything and remodeled. So she was upset about that. They go snow tubing. Love snow tubing, but I got to be in the mood for it. But it looked like it was a lot of fun. So they get back and they decide to, like, go out to dinner. You end up seeing Alexis get on FaceTime with John, and she's being very sexual. And it's like, girl, if you wanted to do that, go to the bathroom. Or go to your room. No one needs to know about, like, I'm going to have my legs up like this, and the next time you see me, it's going to be nothing but heels. Like, no one needs to know that, ma'am. And so then you end up seeing Tamara talk to John while he's on FaceTime because John said he was tired, but then Tamara's like, he looks good. Like, he lost weight. He dropped at 150 pounds, i.e. Shannon. He looks great. Then she makes this declaration to him, like, we're good over here, John. Me and Eddie love you. Like, it's all good. Like, I'm like, why are you posturing for this man? He not your man. And you just became friends with Alexis. But you said on Watch What Happens Live, you're not advocating for John, but that's just what you were doing. Okay. So we end up seeing Tamara's group go to dinner. So they go to dinner, and this was Gina's biggest mistake, is allowing Katie to go to Big Bear with Tamara. Because now Tamara is like, girl, Gina set you up. And Katie is like, you think she did? Because they started talking about the whole paparazzi thing. And Katie is like, yeah, it took me aback, like, where Gina was the one that told me to tell Heather. We talked like the 2 days before the event. She was the one that told me to tell Heather. I didn't get a chance to tell Heather. And then when we talk about it, we're all in this big group. And Heather's like, none of y'all, nobody believes this. And she's over there shaking her head like, yeah, none of us believe it. But mind you, she told me where she was like, this is your truth. This is your proof. I think you should tell Heather. And so that's when Tamara's like, she set you up. And Katie's like, you really think so? Now, mind you, Katie didn't get a chance to tell Heather herself. Tamara did. Tamara jumped the gun. Was it the jump the gun? No, it's not the jump the gun. Well, no, it might be that. Tamara got to Heather first at the golfing event and told her before Katie could. Then Katie came and spoke to her about it. So that might have messed it up. I don't know, but I still think Heather wouldn't have been happy about it either way. So Tamara's like, well, she told you to do it, right? She told you to tell her? She was like, pretty much, yes, she did tell me to tell her. You know what I'm saying? So then Tamara says in her confessional, Gina knows Heather. She knows Heather wouldn't have thought this was funny. And if you've known for this long, maybe she secretly hates Heather because this ain't it. So then you have Jen telling Katie, well, I had to sit down with Heather and Gina really feels like you put her in a bad spot. And that's when Katie was like, how though? And Tamara again is like, she set you up. She set you up. And I said, you're not gonna let her forget that. So now Katie is like questioning Gina and like their friendship. And now she's like, oh my God, like, did she really set me up? Like, I would hope she wouldn't have did that, but I feel like maybe she set me up. The house, Elizabeth is actually there. Honestly, I don't remember much about her. I'm going to just keep it real. I do not remember much about this lady. A lot of people had a lot to say about her on social media, about how, like, she's loaded with money, but her personality is just too weird for like people's liking. The house is lovely. It's a nice home. I didn't know a lot about her. So they all changed into these like girls trip shirts, and everyone's kind of irritated with Gina, especially Heather. They were I think Gina asked like, Heather I think asked like, does she need to cut the hot dogs in half? And Gina was like, I don't know. Like, do you think we need to do that? And Heather was like, do we? Like, who, like, like, do I look like I know? Like, Heather did kind of have an attitude. She was snappy. And honestly, it's a Capricorn thing. Like, I would have said something like that too. I'd have been like, girl, I don't know. Especially if I'm irritated with you. And so Gina was like, she was like, Heather is really on me right now. They were so clumsy in that girl's house. Like, they kept dropping stuff. Heather had to scrub the floors. Gina's anxiety was up. It was like Emily and Heather kept dropping stuff because they're so clumsy. Gina is just like, my commission. Shannon is just frantic. It was funny as hell to me. It was funny to me. But what was more funny, before they got to the house, Shannon had this huge crock pot full of chili because they were going to eat hot dogs. But my thing about it was like, it was a lot of chili. Like, that was enough chili for like 8 people, maybe 10. And I'm like, girl, it's only 4 of y'all. You don't need that much chili. Okay? That was enough chili for like at least 20 hot dogs. And I don't think y'all are eating 20 hot dogs at night. Okay? So they bring like this little grill and everything. I know Shane was probably in his feelings because Emily like was told not to let nobody eat in the car. They stopped at the fast food restaurant. They had the chili in the car. It was a lot going on. So I hope she vacuumed the car. So we have this scene of Shannon taking Emily to the side to talk to her. And it flashes back to Gina, Katie, and what's her name? And Shannon at the boutique. And basically, Shannon ends up telling Emily about how Gina pretty much says that she's different and she's been a very aggressive lately and she doesn't know where it's coming from. So Emily is cocking her head to the side like, girl, what? What do you mean? Like, that's my personality. I'm aggressive and mean. Like, that's nothing new. Which I'm like, girl, if you know that, then you might need to change it. But she's kind of like, okay, me and Emily have been friends for 6 years. She could have told me if she felt like I was changing. Because in that sit down with them, she's pretty much like, I don't know, like Emily's aggressive normally when poked, but here lately she's just been aggressive. Then they do a flashback to when it was just Jen, Shannon, and Gina. And Emily's like, yeah, like she's being a bitch. Like she's just being a real big bitch. And so that's when Emily is just kind of like, you've been my friend for 6 years. Why haven't you told me you had issues? Like, why haven't you told me there's a problem? So now she's irritated. She's irritated now. And like Emily is trying not to be irritated, but she irritated. Shannon being like, well, I don't want you to be mad. I'm just trying to tell you because I don't like everyone talking like, you know, I don't do that whole thing of people talking behind their back. You basically carried a bone, which I feel like is kind of messed up on Shannon's part when it seems like Gina has been the only one that's been like, not the only one to give her grace about her situation, but she has been very nice and compassionate towards Shannon, when she really doesn't have to be the way with the way that Shannon treated her. So I was just like, yeah, Shannon, that wasn't the move. So then you see Emily walk up into the kitchen and Emily arms folded, like just staring at Gina, like Shannon in the back, like cutting carpet, like, oh Lord, oh like girl, like you weren't supposed to be mad. And then Heather's like, what's wrong? And Emily's like, nothing. Looking at, and Gina's like, oh my God, girl, like, what's wrong? And then you got Gina in her confessional. I've been friends with her for a long time. I know she's mad, but I don't know what she's mad about. She's standing in the doorway. She reminded me, what's that meme? The meme of like the Big Bird when it's that creepy Big Bird looking mascot kicking open the door, just standing there. Like Emily was pissed. Emily was standing there like, looking at Gina. So then they end up going outside to sit down and eat. And Emily's like, Gina, can I ask you a question? And Gina's like, yeah, you can ask me a question. She was like, so did you say that I was aggressive, that I was mean, that I've changed? And Gina's like, okay. And she was like, I didn't say that you changed or anything like that. I just said, like, you kind of been acting different. And then Heather's like, no, she ain't been acting different. You've been acting different. So then Gina's like, girl, what? And so then Emily's like, yeah, you have, because you was singing Katie's praises before she got into this group. And then all of a sudden, after you had a conversation with Heather, you switched up on Katie. And so then they show a flashback of Gina saying, well, like, if she's going to ruin my friendship that I've had with somebody for years, I'm done with her. I'm done. So then Heather gets mad and she's like, why would you not tell me? Like, why would you not tell me? Like, you knew this affected my family. So then we see this flashback scene of Tamra and Heather together where she was like, when we was at the reunion, what's her name? Gina was like, this affected my children, Shannon. Like, you were mad about that. And you know, this situation affected my kids. Like, why would you not tell me this? And so then Heather says in her confessional, like, my kids are scattered around the place. My daughter deals with anxiety. She was over here calling me about my parents because I think people forget that the whole paparazzi situation happened around the time where they said that there was infidelity going on between Terry and Heather, and they might be getting a divorce, because everyone thought it was real weird that they sold their home for $50 million, and that was supposed to be like their dream home. Like they were not going to like leave it they weren't going to leave it anytime soon until all of their kids had left the house. So there was this rumor going around about it, and then that paparazzi photo popped up, and then everyone was like, oh. So I think that's what people are forgetting, because a lot of people said that she was reaching, but to me, I got what Heather was saying. Like, you had a situation where a rumor was said about you. Granted, it wasn't on the same level as like CPS, like the CPS rumor. But again, this still was something that affected my kids. So you being my friend, I feel like I deserve a heads up. Pretty. So as Heather is like laying into Gina, Gina is like, girl, like I made a lapse in judgment. Like I'm in my bad. And she was like, I feel like I can't mess up when I'm like with this friendship, or you kind of just drop me. And Heather's just like, that's a you problem, not a me problem. Like that's BS. And Gina was like, well, that's how I feel. And she was like, you just say you don't trust me. And Heather was like, I kind of don't, bro. I kind of don't. So then Heather's like, again, like that's one thing to have like a lapse in judgment. And then Gina gets mad and she's like, I told her within 24 hours not to bring this up. And then Emily interjects and she's like, no, you didn't, because that's not what Katie said. Katie said it like you waited months before you told her. So then they have a flashback of Emily and Katie meeting up to have lunch. And Katie's like, she's telling all of y'all that it was weeks. Like, she told me in 10 minutes, or she called me that day. No, it was a month or a few weeks before she told me not to bring this up. Basically, like she waited and I thought it was okay for me to discuss it. So then what's it called? Gina's like, that's BS. Like that's BS. Like, nah. And she was like, you really gonna believe Katie over me? And then Heather got Gina when she said, but you believed her over me? And then Heather kind of gets emotional where she's like, I feel backstabbed and betrayed by what you did. Like, I really do. And she kind of tears up. And then we have like dueling confessionals where Katie is like, she was like, what do I have to lie for? Like, she didn't call me that day of, it was like weeks. And then Gina with this ugly wig on her head is like, I'm not Alexis. I don't have like, what's it called? Like bank statements, but I ain't got to lie about this either. Like I called her that day. And so the scene ends there. Then the last scene we have is of the Big Bear crew being at Tamara's house. They all have on bear onesies and they're over here doing foot pictures because, Jen asked Tamara, like, what can I do for extra money? She talking about a podcast and this. I said, girl, that's not going to give you any money that quick. So she was like, do feet pics. And Jen was trying to like dunk on the feet pics, talking about how like that's what we're doing. Girl, I know a few girls who sell feet pictures. They making money. They got a loyal fan base and a following, okay? Those people pay good money for them feet pics. Don't be hating on the feet pic girls. And so they're all like having fun. She's sticking her toe. It was gross when Tamara licked the pie off of, or sucked the pie off of Jen's toe. Ugh. So Alexis is over there being a prude, and they're like, you can't be a prude when you're the one telling us you be having sex 4 times a night, girl. And she's laughing about it. And then Katie's like, you know what, girl, I'm actually glad you're here because you need a reprieve. Like your vagina needs a reprieve, girl. So then Tamara's like, does John have a big you-know-what? And Alexis is like, I'm not going to tell you that. Well, and then Tamara's like, you don't have to tell me that. Shannon told me. And then Alexis gets mad and be like, don't say the S word. So then Jen being like, girl, when does like it end? Excuse me. When do you stop having this type of energy for Shannon? And Alexis is like, when she stops talking and spreading lies about my man. This is when she starts crying in the confessional about her mom and how John has been there for her and how like, you know, he's a good man. He doesn't have a mean bone in his body. And she's just tired of Shannon victimizing him. I said, okay, girl. And then she's just like, if Shannon wants to continue spreading lies about my man, then like, let's go. Like it's up and it's stuck pretty much. And then she was like, she doesn't want us to release the tapes or the videos. And Jenna's like, what videos? And she said John took videos of Shannon before she got into the DUI situation. So I'm looking at John like, you had enough time to take videos of her, but not stop her from getting in the car or calling 911 to come and get her. You're a bum. You're horrible. But you got these videos. And so Alexis is like, if she keeps poking me, like it's gonna happen, like, and like it's whatever. So then Jen is like, what does that mean? Tamara laying on the couch being like that they're gonna release the tapes on her. And then Alexis in her confessional being like, I saw the tapes and they made me look at her totally different. And she was like, and I've already prayed for her kids, so if it does come out, it is what it is. And then Jen being the one with a heart is like, is no one thinking about how this is going to affect Shannon and her children and her businesses? Like, why does John have tapes of her? I said, yeah, why were you recording her and not trying to help her, you bum? Y'all, that is it. That is all. If you have made it this far, thank you for watching. And as always, remember to be bravely authentic. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.